did good, say.
45, put it to your brain and then we blow it off. 45, put it to your brain and then we blow it. Dirty Sprite, pour it in my cup and then I'm not enough. I get to this money, count these hundreds, then I blow it off. 45, put it to your brain and then we blow it off. 45, put it to your brain and then we blow it. Dirty Sprite, pour it in my cup and then I'm not enough. I get to this money, count these hundreds, then I blow
Bitch, I
it
put
off.
down the headline and picked up all these bitches, but focused up in the hoes, always in my ear. Listen, I'ma go soft. Don't pick up in the van, I'm drifting. Decision never did my image. Picture me riding to the horizon, throwing up sixes. From the shed in the yard to having dogs. Still that bus up, I don't say, but no, that don't understand. All my bitches born again. All I gotta say to my partners is, of course, it went Generation 5 now. Drippin', drop of acid in my mind's eye. Now I'm thinking everything is tied down. Walk up in the my time. All this ice on my neck, why would I fly? Make a bitch red, but maybe I just leave the high drive.
45, put it to your brain and then we blow it off. 45, put it to your brain and then we blow it. Dirty Sprite, pour it in my cup and then I'm not enough. I get to this money, count these hundreds, then I blow it
Got
off.
this big drink, big syrup. I just poured a little soda in it. Doctors be on top of me, they probably worry about my kidneys. Who you kidding? Never stop. It's BJTS to the top. I pull a weave with shorty bop. I bob and weave until he knock. 187 on your block is just another homicide. You was feeling safe and warm until I let that chopper slide. Help them sick and kill them all. I drowning down until I fall. I'm blacking out in bathroom stalls. I'm always on that break the law. Waking up to Satan's call. God be on the other line. Popping pills until I'm gone. I call him back another time. Rapping easy, spitting facts. Now go and put that shit on wax. Trapping harder, that's a fact. But both them got them snakes and rats.
45, put it to your brain and then we blow it off. 45, put it to your brain and then we
rest in peace. Playing Russian roulette with them press 30s. Gold cost in the revolver, devil's hand on the grip. Only water in my scroll, so I get blessed as I sip. Sony want my seed, that's gon' cost a year. Shorty want my kid, that's gon' cost a jury. Sage master beans, both them bitches German. You know what it is, I'm grinding to the furnace. Told my bitch go shopping and she brought me back a Draco. Acting like they great, but they ain't gang unless I say so. Shameless suicide, this shit deeper than a KO. Feel like Hillary with all these killers on my payroll.
45, put it to your brain and then we blow it off. 45, put it to your brain and then we blow it. Dirty Sprite, pour it in my cup and then I'm not enough. I get to this money, count these hundreds, then I blow it off. 45, blow it off. 45, blow it, dirty Sprite. Not enough, I get to this money, hundreds, blow it off.
I had a dream you died last night. I woke up mouthing things I should have said, but I slept on those words instead. You haunt the stairways in my head. You're the monster under my bed. Reach for me when I repent, and I should have learned. I should have learned. You're the monster under my bed, making mess I keep trying to address. Cannot come to terms with the monster under my bed. I told you secrets I should have kept. You spill them up as I collect.
Hello, and welcome to Amethyst Tier 2 Racing here today in France. The beautiful French track, possibly the last season we see this track driven in for a long while. There is a lobby restart today, 2 DRS zones, the speed trap expect rapid times from some of the guys. 15 corners around this track, and the tyre compounds for today is the C4, C3 and C2, the middle ground in levels of softness. Here we go, the first car on the track, I believe, is an Alfa Romeo of... not of Alfred Monk. Come on, game. Where is my timing board? There we go. I'm gonna guess it is gonna be this man here. No, it's a Haas of almost certainly Kvyat. It is. I wonder if he cut a corner to get there, because he wasn't there. And now he is. Here we go, though. It'll be Patrick Kvyat being the first car. He took the ACC line, which is not allowed. Great banter. Great banter.
Oui, baguette.
Oui, baguette indeed. As Kvyat coming through the first sector now. into this tricky long right-hander. Expect to see a couple of people lose the rear here. And now onto the first DRS straight. A little chicane in the middle of this. If you was in any other type of car, you go straight on here. There isn't an extra 3 corners. But us F1 drivers, we like making it a little bit harder on ourselves. So we make a few extra corners just for us to have to slow down a little bit. It's purple sector 2 as well for Kizyl, but someone has beaten his sector 1. It was an Aston Martin who is going faster than Kizyl in sector 1 currently. All the drivers now going to be out on the track in different segments of their lap. Some people doing warm-ups, some people on an actual lap. Kizyl though now coming through the final sector, running a little bit wide, lucky not to invalidate there on that curb. And now the final corner, making sure not to greed too much curb on exit. And it'll be a drive towards the line. Patrick Kizyl will be the first car to set a lap. And Kizyl goes a 1:30.8. Next up is going to be Skowski. And Skowski bests him by 2/10. Further behind, Will Swan only managing a 1:31.1. A little bit off the pace. Next though will be McWilliams. That's Binder. McWilliams goes P4. As I think Ule is starting his lap. Binder on a lap, I think. Binder reserving today. Goes P5 currently. Slowest car currently on the track, a second off the pace. Next is going to be Bean, would be my guess. And Kizyl's retired. Kizyl was retired. Kizyl's binned it and has retired. Let's see, can Ule see what has happened to Kizyl? No, we won't see it in time. Kizyl absolutely binning it off into the wall. Can we get some L's in chat? As Hugendorn goes P5. Rosu putting it P3 as well. And Vandenberg starting his lap, but there is an Aston Martin that we might want to watch as Marquinhos can only imagine get to P11 currently. Van Loon invalidates his lap, so not setting a lap currently. Ule, though, one to watch here. He's got 6 positions of grid penalty, so he'll be looking to really put it up the order so not to miss out too much. And Ule goes fastest there, beating Soybean by over a 10th. Found his pace there right now. Next is going to be, I think it is Livingston, reserving today, who's invalidated. I stand corrected. Not on a lap. Harris in the pits. Nick Mangano, P9. Marco on his out lap. Currently on his out lap. Who else could be on a lap right now? Vandenberg. Coming around the final few corners now. What time can Mans Vandenberg set? And Mans goes P9 for Mans, just behind Swan, his teammate. It's very overcast here. Let's see. Is the weather expected to drop off? Possibly in the next 15 or so minutes. So, shouldn't really affect the guys. And right now, the car to watch would be... I probably think Nick Mangano is the next one on lap, unless Livingston is starting. No, Livingston's in the pits. Much is on an out lap, so it will be Nick Mangano, the next car to set a lap. And let's ride on board with him for this lap. Soybean, who had the fastest sector 1, but has been beat. Oh, Marquinhos is 1,000th behind Ule. I thought Marquinhos had already set his lap, but he went for a second and is absolutely right behind Ule. Here we have Nick Mangano now coming through turns 4, turn 3 now even, and then turn 4 you swing it around, want to take the apex as tight as possible, and then turn 5 into the tricky turn 6 and 7. Be careful not to lose the rear end while pushing hard. And then it's on to the first DRS straight for Nick Mangano. It's a big, long straight into a sudden braking point here. Late on the brakes, drops down to 4th. Swings it around into 3rd, back on the power, onto the... Oh, big snap for Nick. Nick gets a big snap. Will Nick be able to beat his brother? The battle of the brothers. One in the Aston, one in the Ferrari. Swing it around, double apex right-hander now. Onto the power as late as you can. Or as early as you can without losing the rear end. Down to 3rd for that corner. And now swing it around this long kink of a right hand into a late braking left-hander. Then it's the final corner and then it's just a drag race to the line. You versus whatever imaginary car you have next to you. Can you do it? Can you beat them? Where will Nick Mangano put it? Nick Mangano goes P9 ahead of Marco Mangano and ahead of the McLaren pairing. And next on lap was Much now on lap. Will it? There we go. Now for the long double apex right-hander. Maybe we might see a Charles Leclerc or someone just going into the wall. I can't myself. Someone else will have to do it for me. But Ryan Much now, with only a few corners to go. His teammate currently riding in 6th. Where can Much put it? Ryan Much only P16. Last of the cars to set a time. So now, I think Alex Harris, currently running P3, will be looking to improve on his time. I think he's on his in-lap though, so I stand correct. He takes the GT3 line as well. But Skowski here doesn't find time unless he's starting his lap now. Possibly starting his lap would be my guess. Let's look at Swan. Swan goes P4 with that second lap of his. Purple sectors 1 and 2. Lost a little bit though in sector 3. Can he relight his championship hopes? As McWilliams only manages to get P12 on his second lap. Going to be a battle for them final few points for McWilliams. Marco Mangano also not currently having quite the race he'd want, as Binder now coming across the line. Binder improves but doesn't gain a position. Now it will be Livingston. Zachary Livingston goes P10. Zachary Livingston reserving in Tier 2 today is a Tier 3 driver hoping to win his championship as Vlad Rosu goes the fastest meanwhile. And Van Loon only manages in P17 currently. Will the drunk man be able to even set a lap? Currently it's not looking good for the drunk monk. But Hugendorn, currently riding in P11, is coming across the line now. Hugendorn improves to P8. And now it will be Mans Fantenberg. Or is it Herrington? I think it might be the AlphaTauri of Herrington. The only AlphaTauri on track today. Jacob Herrington will be looking to improve on this lap. It is green sector 1 and green sector 2. Herrington goes P8 for Herrington. And now it will be the Mans. As stand corrected, Ule sets the fastest lap. As Mans Fattenberg can only go P14. Ule will be, with a 6 grid penalty, will be really regretting that he got them. Now it's time for the drunk man himself. Has it invalidated. Goes P12 for Alfred Monk. And then goes straight. He's Bean now though, coming across the line. Bean improves to P3. You're correct, Duckett. It did stop being allowed after Season 4 Imola. Meanwhile, everyone is on an in lap other than Alex Harris, who's on an out lap. On a fresh set of softs as well. We're going to ride on board with Harris for this lap. What will the one with a child be able to do today? Will the child spin his chair and throw away yet another race win? But now, starting his second flying lap, it is Harris. Into turn 5 now, running it a bit wide. Loses a 10th to the fastest first sector, which I believe belongs to Bean. Harris himself having the fastest second sector though. Dropping it all the way to second gear. Now for this flat out right hander. Does he lift? No, he doesn't. If anyone does lift, I'll be very disappointed. The double apex right hander a little bit wider than maybe would have liked. Late on the brakes though there for Harris. Oh, and he takes too much curb and spins. Spinola for Alex Harris. And that'll be any of that lap for Harris. He might have enough time to sneak into the pits and get another lap in. But it will be Ule. No. Skowski, the first one to set a lap. So currently Haas had to play $1 million in damages somehow. I'll never know what Kizel did to do that, but big L. But here we go. It's going to be Skowski starting his lap now. Harris does not have enough time for another lap. So Harris spinning away his chances of pole today. Skowski with a lot of clear air all around him. I'm just looking at the mini-map and crying with laughter right now. Matskowski now coming into this long right-hander. He's the first car on his final lap. As we can see, the last few cars trying to, as someone's had a spin. It looks like an Aston Martin. Is that McWilliams? As here we have Skarsky now rounding the final few corners. What will Skarsky be able to do? Skarsky's going to set the benchmark time, and it's P2 for Skarsky. Next up is the Red Bull of not... Oh, Rosu spins! Rosu's had a spin. That's the end of his qualifying. Will not be improving. Harrington then will be next. Currently running in P8 for the AlphaTauri outfit. Much has retired in the pits. Not improving. Harrington doesn't improve either. And now it's going to be the Alpine duo of first Hugendorn, who's invalidated. And then Van Loon, currently running P18th. Van Loon improves to P13. As meanwhile, Vandenberg only gets to P17 now as Marco improves to P8. Next up is going to be Binder, currently running in P18. Can Binder find some time? And Binder does, but doesn't gain another position. Next is going to be the Williams of not Monk, because he's invalidated. So it might be Nick Mangano, who's also invalidated and getting a bit loose. Is it McWilliams then? Going to improve. McWilliams has invalidated and rips off his wing. What is McWilliams doing? There's only one AlphaTauri. So the big drama, as pre-grid penalties, it would have been an Alfa Romeo 1-2. But with the grid penalties, the game has changed. And there's going to be a big reshuffle. As almost all of the cars within a second of each other than the final two in Binder and Much. And now we're going to have a lobby restart, so get ready for this. It could be about to be Alfa Romeo dominance around.
This is mine, but I'll let you
Welcome to Oblivion.
Let me show you how it's done.
Welcome to Oblivion.
Let me show you how it's done.
fell for you too fast. Don't know what happened. I really thought that this could last. Wasn't what I imagined. Take a look at what we've done. What we've become. Take a look at where we've gone. From dusk to dawn. If I stayed in your arms, I would've never got this far. Can you find me and hold me again?
We return to what looks like a sunny day in France. Tier 2 has avoided the rain. The rain that has plagued them for ages and ages. Tier 2 have taken a dub for once. And we're about to get underway. I was having a can of Coke. As the lights go out, it'll be Skowski leading us off in this race. Skowski leading off Rosu with Soybean behind. A little bit squeezing further on, but Skowski gets away cleanly. Rosu defends off Soybean, and it's currently the battle for P3 that you want to watch. As it seems like a bit of a tangle as Van Loon has dropped down the order. Harris is all the way down in 17th. Both the Mercedes having a nightmare, and so is Van Loon, but back to the front because Rosu is keeping up with the back of Skowski, being right behind and keeping him innocent, and Swan in P4. And there's a Ferrari not looking too good, and it's Nick Mangano. No, it's Marco. Marco Mangano has slipped down the order, no damage though, as it's Soybean looking to make a move on Rosu on the straight. Much more speed for Soybean, and Soybean goes through for P2, and we're now chasing down Skowski. But Rosu tucks into that slipstream, not want to be giving up. As further back, they're battling out as well. Soybean though, the purple part, sector 2, up into P2. As most of them seemingly holding on to one another, the P10 is currently Alfred Monk, who's gotten past the Tier 3 driver of Zach Livingston, reserving today in Tier 2. And gets a little bit of a snap. Might come under now pressure from Zach Livingston. Side by side, Alfred Monk, Zach Livingston. But Monk gets a better drive out of that corner and will hold off his place as Skowski leads this first lap. Harris is all over. Harris, the only car on mediums. And Livingston seemingly having some problems there as he's now getting passed by Vandenberg. Defends the inside. Make sure Nick doesn't also get past him. But he's feeling a little bit of the pressure here today as we go back to Soybean. And he's riding right. He's holding on to the back of Skowski here. But no doing as further back actually. Henningsen has dropped down the order. Is now into P10. Monk has got past him. And we're looking to get past back on Monk. Monk though with the better drive out of the corner. Fends off Henningsen. And Monk will now be looking to get past Hoendorn ahead. A Haas currently running P6, P7. Ooh, and gets a little bit wide there. Possibly a warning there for Henningsen. The cars from Marquinhos back seemingly been dropped off the front as the front two are pulling away. Vlad is been dropped off by Skowski and Soybean. Ule has got his way back up into P4. Your Season 5 champion in Tier 2, Vlad Rosu, seemingly not able to keep up the two in front. As there's someone in the pits. No, it's Harris has had a moment. Alex Harris now running last. But we get back to the front because now Bean is within DRS of Skowski on this very long DRS straight into the late braking. He's definitely keeping up with Skowski, the pole. And meanwhile, Rosu coming under pressure as well from Ule further behind. The battle for third looks like it's going to be heating up between Rosu, Ule, Swan and Kizyul. Marquinhos might be able to catch up to the back of them as well. But these front two are pulling away. Albeit not by much. That was a beautiful camera angle. It might get overcast, but that's all we're hearing is that the clouds are going to come. So currently we're not expecting any sort of weather troubles. As again, Bean is right. He's holding on to the rear of Skowski, but it doesn't look like Skowski is willing to give up. There's a possibility of rain. We're not seeing any rain on Artelem either, but Jeff, the engineers are adamant, the in-game engineers are adamant that it's about to get wet and wild here in France. As Monk, Drunky Monkey, picks up the first time penalty of the race. It's not even wet. It's not even wet and Monk picks up a 3 second. That is a big L. As Alex Harris is having a race to forget, all the way in last place. Mercedes 16th, 19th. As it looked like Livingston was putting on some moves on Battenberg to regain P11. And that's Zach Livingston back up into P11. Right on the cusp of points here today. Vandenberg. As we go back to this battle for P3 because Rosu has formed the track. Oh! Oh! Someone's had a moment. It is Marquinhos. Marquinhos had a moment in somewhere you wouldn't expect it. And he's dropped all the way down to P15. Hello, Caspers. And Ule now on Vlad Rosu for P3. Simon Ule up into P3 into turn 1. Ule, who was your pole place sitter before he had the 6th place penalty. Will Rosu be able to answer back on the DRS straight though? These two fierce rivals last season. And now they continue to battle as Marco Mangano and Ryan Much are not having a good race. They're now at the back of the order. And it's going to be Rosu with the DRS is gaining on Ule. Will he think of a move here? He thinks better of it. Swan though, eyeing up the pair now. Will Swan be able to make any inroads on this? Meanwhile, big shout out Zachary Livingston up into P10 in the points. If he can stay within 3 seconds of Monk, he'll claim him on the point on the penalty as well. Swan taking a much wider line through this double apex. Rosu very tight. Ule finding the middle ground. These guys getting a little bit creative with their lines now. Who will be able to make the move? But all this squabbling has released Skowski and Bean, who are battling ahead. Bean is closer than normal. Gets the DRS. Skowski, though, with a monster drive out of the corner, will not be losing that position anytime soon by the looks of it. Alfa Romeo currently running 1-3. It's like a return to former glory for them. Last season, they were dominant, and this season it has been all up in the air. But Skowski, who's currently leading the Drivers' Championship, is currently in P1. But Bean is not letting up here. Skowski ducks into the inside now. Makes his return to the racing line. Bean is gaining on Skowski, but not enough this lap. As meanwhile, the battle for the third, which is Simon Ule. I've got that spelt wrong, haven't I, still? I will get that fixed. Simon Ule having to defend off Rosu, Swan and Kizyul. You could say all 5 of the top 6 are well within the hunt for the Drivers' Championship still. Ule, who hasn't had as good of a season this season, a little bit out of touching distance on points. Meanwhile, Monk now up into P8 has dispatched Henningsen and will now be looking to get past Hugengoat next. Van Loon, Hugendorn's teammate, having a quiet race currently in P17. But Monk, with the DRS, will be looking to dispatch the Alpine of Hugendorn. He's deploying a lot. His rear light is flashing. Looks for a move up in the inside in turn 1. Alfred Monk gets past Hugendorn. It does look like the Spinala plan is for the Ferrari team. Hooven is not turning up today. And Marco, the team principal of Ferrari, not having a race to remember. But Zach Livingston currently in P10 on the hard tyre. As will Hugendorn be able to answer back at Monk? Henningsen is close to Hugendorn as well. Hugendorn slid down the order. Let's see who's gained and who's lost so far. Marquinhos has lost 10 places. Marco has lost 11. Harris has also lost 7. They're your big losers. The biggest loser at the front would be Rosu, who has lost 2 places from P2 down to P4. But the big gainers would be Phantombert, McWilliam, Nick Mangano, Monk and Hugendorn, all up 5 and 6 places respectively. As meanwhile, Rosu putting the pressure on Ule, but it looks like Swan is actually a lot closer to Rosu, and Rosu's rear is flashing. Will Swan be able to get the drive out on Vlad? He takes a wider line. Rosu taking it tighter. Swan ducking into the slipstream. Will get the DRS, although Rosu with the DRS to defend. Rosu's rear light flashing though. He can only fend off for so long. And there's yellow flags further back as Marquinhos has dropped all the way down to last. Marquinhos coming into the pits. And Marquinhos has retired from the race. The Haas car not having a good outing today. Swan, though, all over the rear now of Vlad. 50% battery for Swan. Ule ducks onto the inside. Vlad choosing not to stick right in his slipstream though, and instead choosing to hang on. But Vlad's rear is flashing. Swan still with about half his battery left, looking like he could be making the move when he chooses to deploy battery. And he's getting a monster drive down this second straight into this long right-hander. Rosu seemingly not having the pace of the cars around him now that we're out of qualifying. But he's making that Red Bull as wide as he can. Just champion mentality from Vlad Rosu. Making himself as hard as he can be to be passed. But again, taking a tighter line. Definitely not reaping the rewards he would be hoping. And Bean still behind Skowski. These two have been pulling away from the rest of the field. Skowski's being driven on by Bean. Ule is about 5 seconds behind. Ule, though, is starting to pull a little bit of a gap to Rosu. If he can get out of that DRS, he can maybe think about getting past. And it does look a little bit more cloudy now. We're not expecting rain, but it is definitely more cloudy. All it takes is one incident that brings out a safety car to flip this race on its head for the Alfa Romeos. Currently, they've got just about big enough of a gap to be able to both pit. But there's a few trains forming. We've got the train from Ule down to Kisiel, and then you got the train from Monk all the way down to Fantenberg. McWilliams seemingly dropping a bit out of the way as there's a battle actually for P15, and it's Van Loon and Binder racing it out side by side. Coming into the fast right-hander. And it will be Binder holding his own to Van Loon. These two racing it out for currently P15. But back to the battle now for P3. Because Rosu seems a little bit closer, but Swan is even closer to him. Is it raining? According to some of the engineers, the rain is coming. So no ACC DLC for Potts is what we're hearing. I don't see any rain at the moment. We're 10 laps into this French race. And meanwhile, the front two battling out. Bean closer to Skowski than he has before. Side by side. Bean up the inside. Skowski on the outside. A little bit of contact. And Skowski spins. I'll pass on that. Duck it. But Bean takes the race lead. Skowski falls to P2. And Swan and Rosu are battling side by side. And Kisiel looks to make a move on Rosu up the inside of the next corner as well. Rosu about to lose 2 places in 1 lap. And Kisiel gets through on Rosu too. I am indulging in some Skittles. I do love me some Skittles. So now, Rosu has gone from P2 at the start of this race down to P6. Kisiel with a blinding move. Into the left-hander past the double apex right. Now, will Swan be able to make inroads onto Ule? Or will they all be content in forming a little train? Currently, they are the Polish Express, with behind them the Danish Express in Alfred Monk. And Rosu, meanwhile, has also... Not Rosu. Van Loon has dispatched Binder and is now ahead of Binder for P15. But Bean now with almost a 5-second lead as Nick Mangano picks up a 3-second penalty. Skowski will be looking to catch back up to Soybean though and maybe seek some revenge for that incident. As meanwhile, Ule having to fend off Will Swan and Kizil. Rosu seemingly struggling a little bit, is being dropped off the back already. Vlad Rosu, who is your current defending champion, just not having the pace in the race in France. Further back as well, the battle for P7, as Monk with a 3-second time penalty has quite the train behind him, as Soybean sets the fastest lap. So it is Monk that leads Hugendorn with Henningsen, Livingston, Nick Mangano and Fantenberg rounding out that train. McWilliams is just off the back of it. And then Alex Harris is in no man's land. I would have you know, Spiky, I am not fat. I am anything but. As Binder now is under threat from Marco Mangano. And Marco gets past Binder on the straight. Binder has been sadly be going backwards. But we're hearing that it could be raining the next 3 laps. And Ule having to defend. Our weather is saying it's still just going to be overcast. So the French weather is really playing a guessing game for all of us right now. Will it rain? Will it not rain? Is the story of today. Swan gets a monster drive. Ule seemingly getting a poor drive out of that corner. Swan tucks back into the DRS though. Will he look to make a move? Because he got a much better drive out of that corner. Takes a wider line. Around the outside, possibly for Swan. Ule goes a bit deep. Swan going to maybe think about a switch back here. Not able to get the drive out the corner though. Ule defends off Will Swan. Swan needs to be very careful on the curb. If he takes any more of it on that corner, you can expect the back end to step out. And we saw it happen to a few others before. And Kizil will be hunting him down behind as well. Rosu seems to have regained composure and is holding on to the back of Kizil. But Soybean is absolutely flying right now. Skowski's got wing damage. Let's have a look and see if we can see it. 6% wing damage for Skowski. And meanwhile, Skowski has been being caught up by this train. Skowski is slipping back into this train. And Rosu is struggling on the straights to hold on to Ule, Swan and Kizil. And Monk's train is starting to catch up onto the back, as meanwhile it looked like Livingston and Nick Mangano are getting into it. This is for the final points paying position. Livingston holding on, trying to hold on for his final point here in his first race in Tier 2. And you can see raindrops. Raindrops, drop tops. It's about to get wet in here, ladies and gentlemen. It is spitting. It may be spitting, but I am spitting balls. And there's contact! Nick Mangano pump and dumps Zachary Livingston off to the side of the track, and that's possibly Livingston's race ruined. He just put his nose in Zachary's rear wing and then just spun him around. Not the race Zachary Livingston would have wanted. But back to the battle for P2 now. Because Skowski is being caught up by this train. And Swan is very close onto the back of Ule once again. Is the rain going to be a deciding factor today? Swan really thinking a move. This is for a podium position as Monk picks up another 3-second penalty. Marco Mangano also picks up a 3-second penalty. And Skowski is falling into the clutches of the cars behind. What was once a comfortable buffer for the Alfa Romeo pairs to both pit has now become very, very tight. But Swan eyeing up Ule. Ule without DRS. Swan with DRS looking to go around the outside. Is ahead before the first corner. Will Swan up into P3. That is for a podium position. And that is to hunt down Ule's teammate in Skowski. This could be huge for the Drivers' Championship. You can see Skowski just ahead. And you can see the rain, the track getting a little bit wetter. And Kizil now onto the back of Ule too. Monk's into the pits. Alfred Monk is into the pits. And of course he's gone on to intermediates. It wouldn't be Alfred Monk without pitting earlier than everyone else. But back to this battle for P3. Swan having to now defend Ule behind him. And he isn't catching enough up onto Skowski currently to be getting that DRS. So he's under a little bit of pressure now from Ule. Oh, what an angle. Oh. As Van Loon now picked up a 3-second time penalty as he's battling it out with Marco Mangano for the final position on track. Whew. Further back, Hugendorn now P7. Harris picks up a 3-second time penalty as well. But none of the front runners thinking to pit. Monk, the only car on intermediates. Actually, I tell a lie, because that looks like Nick Mangano is into the pits. What is he going to be putting on? And Nick Mangano now putting on the intermediates as well. All it takes is one crash at the wrong time for these leaders. So the drivers now on intermediates is Monk, Nick Mangano, McWilliams, Harris, Marco Mangano and Van Loon. And it looked like Livingston also into the pits, which for what I would assume is intermediates. But the track doesn't look wet enough just yet. This is really bad for the Alfa Romeos as well. If the track is getting wetter, they're right next to each other. It will be a double stack. One of them will surely have to pit sooner than the other. But now the rain is still raining, but is it wet enough for the Inters? It's hard to tell currently if the intermediate is the correct tyre. Because the dry runners seemingly running fine. Soybean up ahead with a solid 8-second lead now. Spikey, it's 2023, mate. And Swan picked up a 3-second time penalty. Disaster for Will Swan. And more people into the pits now. Binder into the pits. And DRS has been disabled. The track is too wet for the DRS. The stewards have decided. And Ryan Much also into the pits. But Swan under pressure from Ule. Side by side. No DRS needed. Ule back up into P3. Thank you very much for the follow there, Lucifer. That feels wrong to say. And Will Swan with a 3-second time penalty is going to have to find some time somewhere. But the rain doesn't look wet. I still don't think the track is wet enough for the intermediates. I think it's right on the tipping point. Soybean would agree that it's still dry enough for his dry tyres to be performing. None of the front runners wanting to pit. Oh! I tell a lie because Vlad is the first and he speeds! He speeds into the pit lane! Oh, can we get some L's in chat? As Vlad Rosu speeds into the pit lane. That is a 5-second penalty for Vlad Rosu. Your current champ will not be good for him. Soybean's gap coming down a little bit is now under 8 seconds to Skowski. Skowski, now that it's got a bit colder, seemingly keeping them hard tyres performing well. But he has definitely lost ground to the cars behind. But with Will Swan with a 3-second time penalty, this could be detrimental. Only the front 6 now are on the hard tyre. Everyone else still on the intermediate tyre now. Oh! Soybean's had a moment! Soybean has spun! And Soybean loses the lead of the race. Where will Soybean return? Once he's up to speed, he drops down to P2, P3. He's battling it now with Ule. He's behind Ule. Soybean goes from first to third with one slip in the wet conditions. Fat L for Soybean. And Skowski is now your race leader again. But Alfa Romeo once again have the issue of their drivers are so close together, they're going to double stack. Will Skowski pit? Skowski pit. They're double stacking in Alfa Romeo. And Bean speeds into the pit lane. I think you're about to see a double stack of nightmares for Simon Ule. Ule is going to be stuck behind his teammate. Where will Ule come out? And where will they come out compared to Rosu actually? Rosu gets past Ule. Gets past Vandenberg. Is side by side with a Williams of Bean. Rosu up into P3 with that early pit stop. Ule now is having to defend off Nick Mangano. The grid concertinas back up into one another. Both Bean getting held up a little bit. And Rosu loving life. And let's see who can master these slippery wet conditions. And who's going to spin it out. So it started dry. But once again, Tier 2 cursed with this wet weather. Tier 2 cannot catch a break. As soggy wet France. You wouldn't want it raining your baguette. A wet baguette is not fun. But Skowski, with that 6% wing damage, will surely be under threat once again from Bean, who has definitely got the pace. Our weather's still saying it's overcast, but clearly it's not. Let's ride on board with Bean. As he is right behind Skowski. What sort of drive can Soybean get? Doesn't seem to be good enough of a drive. Ooh, and Soybean picks up a 3-second time penalty. Gets loose through turn 1. Cuts the corner. And now got to somehow put out extra time. And Skowski will park that Alpha wherever he can to not let Bean through. And there's a little bit of contact. Bean definitely the faster car. But with Bean's murdering in turn whatever the turn is. I can't remember the number. I think it's 9 and 10. Possibly 8 though. This here. Last time they made contact, spinning Skowski, losing in 5 seconds to Bean and the race lead. And now they're back where they started, behind one another. And Rosu just not able to keep up with this front two, but has dropped Swan off. Oh yeah, Bean sped into the pits. I forgot all about that. And Swan really needs to drop Kiziol off the back of him, because Swan has a 3-second time penalty. And meanwhile, Nick Mangano is battling Ule. Ule not enjoying this wet conditions, as Nick Mangano has gotten past Simon Ule, 4P6. Will he be able to gap him though? And will he come under pressure from Hugendorn? Hugendorn, known to be a lover of the wet. And not surprised, seeing as he is from Holland, where it is always raining. Further back, McWilliams is battling Zach Livingston, the Tier 3 driver, currently leading the Tier 3 championship, battling Oliver McWilliams for P12. Monk currently running in P11. That early pit stop doesn't seem to have done him favours. He's lost positions. I do think the battle for P12 is the most interesting one right now, actually. As will McWilliams be able to dispatch Zachary Livingston? The track is definitely getting wetter. Could we see full wets towards the end? As Harris has left the session. And Rosu is being caught back up by Swan and Kiziol. Our weather is still saying overcast. This rain has come out of the blue. But Rosu definitely not had the race pace that Swan and Kiziol has had today. Rosu, 4 laps on them tyres, is really wearing them fronts hard. But Bean is not making inroads on Skowski. If Skowski wins this, he further extends his lead in the Drivers' Championship. And it is looking like it will be a P1 as things stand for Skowski. What? I'm so confused. Ah. So it's 50% chance of rain. Rosu though under pressure here. As Swan starting to drop off Kiziol a little bit. Maybe looking to make a move on Rosu for what would be P3 on track, but he would then have to drop him off as well. He's with that 3-second time penalty. Swan looks very close. As Bean picks up another 3 seconds. Soybean has been poop in the wet, picking up so many warnings. Rosu, oh, Rosu does have a 5 second speeding into the pit lane, you are correct. So Swarm needs to gap Physial. There has been some highly competitive racing today. As Vandenberg picks up a 3-second time penalty, which doesn't look like it will lose him a position though. Unless Monk can drug Livingston into the 3-second window. But I don't think he will. As meanwhile, Bean is pushing very hard, but has got amassed 11 seconds worth of penalties. And the battle for P3 is still on, because technically it is Kizyul's P3 with the guys in front with penalties. So the two in front really need to be pushing and trying to drop Kizyul off. Swan gets a bit of a snap though, and Vlad will extend that gap a little bit to the British driver. Whew. And Van Loon's had it retired. Van Loon into the pits retiring. And Monk, Drunky Monkey picks up another 3-second penalty. Good point. Bean has amassed a humongous amount of penalties. He's at 6 seconds plus 5 seconds. He's at 11 seconds worth of penalties. Ow, my neck. As meanwhile, Nick Mangano not heeding to Ule, sorry. I fully butchered the name then. I am very sorry, guys. Whew. It's getting hot in here. He sped into the pit lane. Swan cannot afford another 3-second time penalty. He's got to be very careful on them track limits. As with 3 laps to go, Skowski still leading. Bean though all over the rear as Monk now speeds into the pit lane, and Monk is retired from this race as well. Drunky Monkey, not a race to remember for him. And thank you very much for the follow there, Loa Adesi. Or Lodesy, I don't know how you pronounce it. But back though for the battle currently for P6 on the track, because Ule is now pushing extremely hard on the rear of Nick Mangano, because Hugendorn is fast approaching these two. And it's wheel-to-wheel stuff for the pair, still bumping. Nick Mangano not wanting to lose this position. Ule not wanting to give it up either though. And it's a drag race and Nick Mangano holds on. But all this battling is going to help Hugendorn catch up. And meanwhile Rosu is still got a small train behind him. Kizyul will be rubbing his hands, happy with how things are looking. Van Loon, you should... Oh, and Livingston picks up a 3-second time penalty. Zach Livingston picks up a 3-second penalty and will now almost certainly lose that position to McWilliams. But meanwhile, actually, Bean looking closer to Skowski than before. Unless he, like, literally murders Skowski, I don't see how Bean can get a win here today with the amount of penalties he has on him. He's got 11 seconds. He needs to commit murder and then some. Oh! Oh! Nick Mangano's into the... Nick Mangano's gone off! And now he has Livingston right behind him. At the moment, this could be points for McWilliams here in France. And it looks like Swan is struggling a little bit to hold on to the back of Vlad now. Vlad may be putting the burners on, trying to do his absolute best to make sure Will Swan does not get the position from the penalty. As Swan is slipping down the order. In time-wise, as it is anyway. Was there contact between Nick Mangano and Ule? But back to the race leaders as they have 1 lap to go. Final lap for these guys. Oh my god. The AI of a retired car. This game never fails to disappoint. Oh, and it's close. Almost contact from the pair again. Bean really wanting to win this. Skowski has 1 lap to defend off Soybean. Will he be able to hold him off? Is the question. Is clean through that first. And meanwhile, Swan is struggling to hold on to the back of Vlad. Vlad only needs to extend his gap to 2 seconds. Huguenon picks up 3 seconds of penalties. Almost certainly giving Ule P6 on the track. But it is going to be Kasper Skowski rounding the final few corners with Soybean right behind him in the Williams outfit. Unable to get past the flying pole. Skowski with 1 final corner to take. Will drive towards the line, and Kasper Skowski is going to win here at France today. Bean will be second on track, but with the amount of penalties he's got 11 seconds. Vlad Rosu will get past him. Swan will get past him, but Kizel will be P2. Swan P3, Vlad Rosu P4, Soybean P5, Ule P6, Hugendorn P7, Henningsen P8, P9 for Mans Vandenberg, and P10 for Nick Mangano. But with 3 seconds, it will be McWilliams bringing home the final point as Harris retires. Oh my god. Why? Why would you do that? Pain. Here is your race winner in Kasper Skowski. Kizel P2 and Will Swan P3 in a very wet France. Rosu will be mightily disappointed picking up that 5-second speeding penalty, as it has cost him a podium today. As there is your driver's standings for today. find of the last of the finishing cars as Harry's binned it into the wall. And we're going to get ready to do some interviews. That is not the interview room. Oof. Let me get my breath back. Uh-oh. Sorry. Alright. It is interview time. Let's get your race winner up. Skalski, P1 in France. Certainly solidifying your drive for the Drivers' Championship today.
Yes, the championship is alive, and to be fair, that's the first time I am in a real contention for the championship.
It is very much alive. We're halfway through the season now. I think you're the only car on the grid above 100 points.
I think so, yeah. Because before the race I had 81 points. 81, yeah, and yeah, I should be above 100.
And talk us through your race. We saw that contact between you and Bean during the dry stint.
To be fair, I didn't think much of it later. Maybe it's still a hit of a moment. Maybe that was my mistake because I tried to take a little wider line, if of course possible. Bean was faster than me, I knew it. Didn't know why he didn't overtake me for a pretty long time. But when it started to rain, we came prepared for the wet race, but we didn't check the weather just before the race. So yeah, when we heard that it was gonna rain, we thought we were gonna be screwed up, but it came out pretty well. A very solid pace from being in the dries, in the wets, and a very good fight.
And Ule, you pulled it back after having that 6th place grid penalty to score a solid amount of points as well for the help you guys in the constructors.
Well, in the end, I finished where I started, so it's, okay race, I would say. I'm not gonna be sad after that one, but yeah, with that pole, it could have been much better, especially how the race turned out. There was good pace, actually. Skalski, after contact with Bean, had a little damage, so that's why I was catching him quite well. But, well, one lap more on dries, if it wasn't for the rain, I think I would overtake him, and he would be the one to be slowed down in the pits, because, yeah, also I was dived by, I can't remember which driver, but somebody dived me into the pits, overtook me, and got 5 seconds penalty, so totally deserved. But yeah, in the wets, it wasn't that bad actually, because most of the time it was crossover conditions, and in-game engineer was he was sure that it's crossover conditions, like the dries could stay up for a few more laps. So I benefited a little bit more because I had higher wings than Skalski, so I was feeling well for a little longer. But good quali, I could have even increased, so that would be total clap. I think 2 times possibly over the second place, which was my teammate. But yeah, the pace was good, the race was fun. What can I say?
A solid result for you both, and we go back to where arguably people believe that you lost the title last season. We return to Spa with that jump start. Are you hoping for a better performance next week?
I think I owe one thing here because it's not gonna happen again. Because actually, I was sponsored in a way. My dearest friends, which I usually go drinking with after the race, bought me actually really nice birthday gift. I made use of it. So yeah, that was Ule 1.5, which I was talking about to Dakar. So yeah, it shows the pace is solid. Now I can only increase. So it's a matter of getting used to new wheel, and I think I'll just improve from now on.
Right, is there anything else you boys would like to say before we go down to P2 and Patrick Kizel?
I don't think so, really. Do you have something to tell, Ule?
Great fight from the, I'd say, midfield guys, but you actually were podium pretenders. I mean, it was Rosu, Kishel, and Swan, I think. Yeah, those were the guys that accompanied me during the dry period. It was really fun to drive with you.
Well, congratulations on the P1 and P6.
Yes.
Congratulations. Solid points for Alpha Male, and once again solidifying your title charge there, Skowski.
Thanks.
We'll look forward to seeing you guys next week. Now, Kiziel, your P2 driver.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. Would you like Marquinhos up here with you?
How do you say yes in French?
Oui.
Oui.
Boys, a solid qualifying. You were running P6 and P7 at the start of the race, and then Patrick Kiziel, you put it P2 in the end.
Yeah, I think I just got lucky. Well, not lucky, and at the same time, you know, my consistency is good, I guess. I had 0 warnings, and I felt like Swan is gonna get 3 seconds again. So, you know, it was just a matter of time getting on the podium. I thought I'll finish P4, P3, but then I finished in P2, so I'm incredibly happy.
And Marquini, you were running solidly, and then we saw you just off in the infield.
Yeah, 0-0 wings doesn't work on this track, unfortunately.
And Kiziel, do you want to talk us through your race? Because it seemed like it was a big slipstream train for a lot of the time.
Yeah, I mean, at the beginning, I was P11 and I got into P7 somehow. I got a good move on Livingstone. Also, going back to qualifying, I slept for 4 hours. I barely came back from work 15 minutes before the qualifying, and I'm so tired and my brain is just not working today. I was fixing my fucking what's it called, wheel, and I was watching where I'm going, and I just went into the wall at 300 km/h. It was stupid as fuck, and I didn't even notice until Jeff said, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And then I looked at my screen, and I was saying to Sergio, "Oh, I retired."
I think you did more than retire.
Yeah, oh my god, it was horrible.
And Spa next week for you boys. How do you feel about Spa?
Personally, I don't like the track, to be fair. I mean, it's nice, it's sexy, but, you know, to drive on, not really.
And will the rain once again plague you boys?
I swear to God, watch, listen, if there's rain in Spa, I am fucking retiring from the session on lap 1. I don't give a fuck, seriously.
It just seems to be your guys' pure luck of just always getting wet weather plaguing you boys.
Luck.
Or unluck.
Yeah, unluck more like it. Seriously, I think if it rains in Spa, we should do Spa 2021. We should red flag after a couple of laps.
I'll give out like 25% points.
Yeah, this is a way better option than fucking driving in the wet in Spa. Like, there's gonna be 10 DNFs. I can't be bothered. Seriously, I'm gonna retire on the first lap if there's rain.
And is there anything else you boys would like to add before we go down to P3?
Yes, there is actually something I want to add. I am incredibly sad that we didn't get a all Polish podium. I wish Ule, kept up with me and then we would get a all Polish podium, but we missed out on it.
Well, congratulations on your P2, definitely keeping your title hopes alive.
Nah, I think Skowski's too quick.
Well,
but I'll try my best.
Congratulations on P2, and we'll see you next week.
See you later, alligator.
And now we're going to bring up P3.
Hello.
Hello, Will Swan. P3 would have been P2 if you managed to just keep it between the white lines.
Yeah, don't talk about that one, mate.
Okay, we won't talk about that one. But how are you feeling after that race?
I mean, I'm pretty buzzing, to be honest, because I did not expect a podium. I came into France expecting to qualify like 16th and finishing maybe in the points if I was lucky. I did not expect a podium. But to be fair, I have to give my shout out to the Connor, because Connor did basically tell us how to drive the track. And without him telling me how to do that, I would be completely knackered.
Again, a solid result for yourself, keeping your title championships alive, although Skowski pulling away from the field today.
Yeah, bollocks for that, mate. I'm not winning the championship, you're mad. Skowski's going to win it. He's fast. He's just too fast in qualifying and the race, and you can't keep up with him. And plus, I'm missing out on a race next week because I'm going to Wembley, aren't I, Luke?
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Also had to represent the mighty England on the podium. I know you wanted an all-Polish podium, but come on. Got to represent Britannia.
And talk us through your race then, because you seem to be within that toe the whole time, and then you pulled a brilliant move on Vlad.
Yeah, I mean, it was really tough to decide who was actually faster than who. We were all like really evenly matched for, like, God, I don't even know, probably more than 10 laps or something. I think we were going to try and go for the undercut maybe, because the undercut is very powerful around France. But when we heard that the rain was coming, we just thought, nah, we'll stick it out until the rain comes. It was a hard decision to make. Rosu definitely got the best. He definitely got the best pit stop. He went on at the right lap, and he gained from it. But yeah, I'm buzzing that I stayed within his penalty range at the end, though. 1/10 in the end. He just gained some lightning fast speed in the last like 3 laps or something. I couldn't keep up.
And you're not attending Spa.
I'm not.
How do you think Spa will go for your teammate?
Well, I know that man is absolutely rabid. I know that he hates France, so we'll let him off for a day. But he's still got a points from wherever he qualified. I know it's quite far back, but still, good recovery drive. And I think he'll be rabid at Spa. So as long as he likes the track, he'll probably be in the top 5, I'd guess. He is really quick.
And Connor, as team principal, any word from you about how the guys drove today?
I mean, I was engineering Swan today, and I mean, from an engineer side, that race was an absolute, like, it said it wasn't raining, and you said on the stream it wasn't raining.
Yep.
The engineer was saying it's going to rain to the end of the race, but then the weather chart said it was going to rain midway through the race and dry up towards the end. So I didn't know what to believe. So we just kind of, I was doing it the old-fashioned way. I was just looking up at the sky and just trying to think, well, it's going a bit darker, but it's a bit bright over there. Yeah, it was very confusing. Like Swan said, we were trying to go for an undercut, but obviously with the rain, pressuring us into coming down, it was a bit of too much of a risk, and I'm glad we stayed out. But yeah, it was a tough race to engineer, and obviously it's unfortunately got the penalties, but this track is just impossible. Well, it's not impossible, but it's very difficult to not pick up too many warnings. And Phantom, like Will said, had a great recovery down in P17 up to P9, I think, in the end.
Let me double check for you.
But yeah, it was a really good recovery from then. I don't know, they've not come up here to say much, but no, good racing from everyone as well. It was weird because it's such a different track where people can take so many different lines through corners. So clean racing is pretty hard to ask for around here, because there's a lot of wide people take wide lines, tight lines, all sorts. So yeah, but either way, it's still good racing, and very happy with the result.
And is there anything else you guys would like to add before we go down to McWilliams, who has his hand up before everyone else got in the room?
I've said did he get points in the end?
Who? McWilliams? I think
Yeah.
he got P10.
Wow, was that a first?
I think that's his first points of the season, isn't it?
Good job, McWilliams. Did he drive in a straight line around Paul Ricard this time?
Oh no, he's on 4 points. He's going to be on 5 points after this race.
Oh wow, good on him.
Well, no, we'll let you get to McWilliams, but cheers for commentating, Luke.
Cheers, Luke.
No problem at all.
It was good that I had it open on the other screen. Good stuff.
I did have to consume all my Skittles though.
Alright, I'll see you soon in a bit.
In a bit,
See you,
boys. Alright, McWilliams. You've been waiting patiently. McWilliams.
Sorry.
P10.
Oh.
You must be happy with that.
That was a bloody nightmare, that.
Talk us through your race, because you were battling Livingston avidly throughout the whole of the race.
I must say, first of all, respect to the fella making that step up at the last second. I'm presuming that wasn't exactly premeditated, that reserve. So, fair enough to him. He's very unlucky he didn't get points. Ultimately, he had to come in together with Nick about halfway through. But yeah, it was quite boring, I can't lie. France, ridiculously hard track to follow around. Really hard not to get track limit penalties out because the curbs are weird. But as one said, I put it in a straight line for once in my life, and well, yeah, P10. Am I happy? Yeah. Am I kind of pissed off this didn't come sooner? Yeah. But I can't really complain. I wasn't expecting to do well today, so ultimately, points, I was very happy with it. No damages as well from myself or Nick, I think. So yeah, that was good to see. And just eyes looking forward to the second half of the season.
Well, Spa is the next race on the season, and we know last time you was right behind Vlad, your teammate last season, until a final lap coming together.
With my good friend Van Loon.
Do you think you'll be able to replicate that without the incident at the end?
Let us pray. I think my pace has fallen off a wee bit from last season. My focus has kind of skewed itself, but I think after today I'm a lot more motivated. I'm a lot more happy. So, yeah, hopefully, Spa, I don't get PTSD from it this season. But, yeah, it's a good track. Promises for good racing. I swear if it rains, I will join Kizil in that protest. I will start some shit if we get rain again. Like, please just put it to try. Like, I get you can't do it, but please do it.
It's the rules, I can't.
Oh, yeah.
Literally, we've been rolling dice, and for some reason it's always rolled on wet.
Oh, it's weird that. It's almost like you said it to that.
I mean, I didn't.
Anyway.
I can guarantee I didn't.
I'll cut the conspiracy.
Was Monaco wet or dry for you guys?
Enter. Whole time.
When was the last dry? Austria and...
Portimao was the last one, then it was Bahrain, that was it.
Oh, we got the wet one in Tier 3.
Yeah.
We got the wet Portimao.
And obviously, you know, in your experience, wet weather's really good fun, isn't it?
I like it until I don't like it.
Yeah. Yeah, just hopefully, you know, Spa, I can build upon this and do better. I was very happy throughout a lot of this race just seeing other people do well. It was nice seeing Livingstone make that step up. He's a good lad, and I'm sure he'll be in this tier next season. I'd be very surprised if he isn't. He's a really good driver and a really good fella, so it'd be nice to have him up here. I was happy for Nick. He was, you know, scrapping for what I believe would have become P6 for like half that race. He was very unfortunate to have spun quite late on, but equally we just kind of have to move on from it. It was promising enough. Kizil and Vlad, seeing them both do well, again, just kind of puts a bit of a smile on my face. And it's good to see Skalski's emotionally recovered from the trauma I gave him all the way back in Season 4.
What was
that? Barely. Yeah, anyway, I'll stop waffling, sure, I'll let this stream end. But yeah, it was nice being up here, being happy, and I'll see you. I'll probably be engineering Wednesday actually, so I'll see you up here after 2 or 3.
Yes. Well.
Presuming all goes well.
Presuming. Alright, congratulations on your points today, McWilliams.
Cheers.
And we'll see you definitely next week.
Thank you for your services, good sir.
Well, that is the end of Tier 2 here in France. I greet you a goodbye as we get ready. Join back on Wednesday as the Tier 3 drivers tackle Paul Ricard. And let's see who can do it. Goodbye.
With the bass so low and the mix so sick, you can wake up, face plant down in the gully, man. I'm a scummy man, beats on a running man, hard to the bargain, hard man, cunning plan. These bars hit hard like a train, I'ma leave you locked out cold in the rain. No pain, no gain, no same old, same old. We got the beat locked down in the chokehold. With the bass so low and the mix so sick, you can wake up, face plant down in the gully, man. I'm a scummy man, beats on a running man, hard to the bargain.